Hey, this is Smoke Master D with a brief history of the offset smoker. When you see an offset smoker with wagon wheels like the ones that crossed the prairie and settled the American West, and black polished metal, the color of old wood stoves that heated log cabins, you might think the people have been making barbecue and these contraptions for over 100 years. You'd be wrong, or would you be? You see, it depends a little bit on how you define the term offset smoker. If you mean any method of cooking meat indirectly through smoke and fire with two separate chambers, this probably happened at some time with a smokehouse. It definitely happened with barbecue restaurants in the early 20th century when they built brick and mortar pits, some of which featured indirect cooking and others that use direct. Some of these pits and restaurants are still around today. If you define an offset cooker as being made of metal, you might have to start with President Ulysses S. Grant's custom-built stove in his home in Galena, Illinois, which features an offset smoke chamber. If you define an offset smoker as being made from a barrel or any tubular metal related to the production of oil, you would need to consider the June 1957 issue of Popular Mechanics, which features instructions for building a smoker from an oil barrel. Notice the offset firebox. The story most people will tell you, though, if they know anything about the history of offset smokers, is the part that's coming next. When the United States supported Israel in the Arab-Israeli War of 1973, several Arab countries formed OPEC and together lowered the supply of crude oil, making the price skyrocket. What was a pinch on the rest of the United States became an economic boom in Texas and Oklahoma, where reinvigorated domestic oil drilling took off. It was these oil workers who worked with pipe and barrels were believed to have made the first horizontal offset smokers from surplus supplies during this boom. Charles Davenport, who would go on to found Lyfetyme Smokers, built this offset smoker in 1978. Dickey and Raymond Hardis and Wayne and Lawrence Whitworth had a metal fabricating company to service the oil refineries in Houston. When the price of a barrel of oil dropped from around $30 to around $10 in the early 1980s, the Texas oil industry crashed, prompting these brothers to form Pits and Spits. Their first commercially available smoker was a combo unit. It featured a vertical offset design with the firebox below the cooking chamber. Shortly thereafter, they would make a horizontal model with an offset firebox. The Pits and Spit smokers have always looked, though, a little more like the kind of grills popular before offset smokers, due to their patented roll-top lids. Charles Davenport is likely responsible for this with his Lyfetyme smokers. His company started by cutting 55-gallon drums in half, but changed to steel pipe for its greater thickness. While Davenport's company originally built feedlots, metal fences, and barns, they turned exclusively to smokers in 1986. This, of course, was just a year before Joe Davidson took his 12 homemade smokers to the Oklahoma State Fair in 1987. He sold every one of them and took over 100 orders for more. With that beginning success, he founded Oklahoma Joe's, which would solidify the image of the pipe-based smoker and become one of the most popular names in the barbecue world. So the offset smoker entered the American consciousness, and the rest, as they say, is history.